Hello and welcome to Fathoms Deep, a Black Sails podcast. From Common Room Radio, I'm Liz Stevens.
And I'm Daphne Olive.
And we are at the season finale of Season 3. This is all there is. That's all she wrote until January, which is luckily coming right up. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I ever could be to talk about my favorite episode of television.
Your favorite episode of television, just ever, period. The end.
Pretty much. Yep.
It is a thing of beauty.
It is such a gorgeous piece of storytelling.
Yes.
I love it so much, and I'm hoping I can be more eloquent than just like over and over again, just saying, oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, I love this, which is...
Right.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of that tonight. But yes, I think this is unbelievably beautiful. Yeah. We'll just have to talk about it specifically because I all I can do is say pretty much that I adore it.
Yeah.
Until we get into the specifics.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough then. In that case, maybe we should just jump right in. You think so?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to totally do things differently this time.
Okay.
I'm going to make you happy this time, Liz. We're just going to go in the order of the actual episode.
In chronological order. I like that because my notes are always in chronological order as I'm sitting there watching them. So that's great. Yeah.
Yes. So we will be doing things which is not exactly chronological.
Which isn't exactly chronological. That's right.
Right. Because that's why I want to do it. Because I think this episode is built on the fact that it's framed by Flint and Silver a few nights before everything else.
And which is just amazing. Well, and it's sprinkled inside too. It's not just framed, right? Is there a word for that? There probably is. I don't know what it is though.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an official word for that, and we don't know it. And you know what? I don't really care.
Yeah, you don't. Who cares? Yep.
I could just call it gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Let's just call it
beautiful, gorgeous storytelling.
Mm-hmm. An amazing structure that enhances every bit of your experience of it.
Yes, a beautiful structure. Mm-hmm.
So I will just list our settings. We have the campfire a few nights before.
Mm-hmm.
We have the beach with the warfare and after the warfare on the beach. We have the ships.
Yeah, we do. There's some excellent ships this episode. Yeah.
We have the village and we have Nassau, and they're all interspersed in such a beautiful way.
Yes.
And yeah, let's start talking about. We're not really going to talk about character specifically this time. We're just going to talk about all of it.
That's right.
We're
all
not
of it.
Going character by character.
Okay, it'll come out because the characters are amazing. Okay, I love it.
Prepare to board. Aye.
All right, so where do we start?
At night, a few nights before all the action.
With the literal pirate burying literal treasure. Just as classic piracy as you can get.
It's true. Might this be the closest we've come to like an actual kind of, stereotypical pirate thing?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I felt stupid because watching it this time, I hadn't considered excuse me. The first time I watched it, and of course I didn't realize then, the first time I watched it, that season 4 was going to be the last season either. So This is it. This is the Treasure Island gold. This is the gold that Flint's crew buried.
I'm assuming. I mean, yeah, it's jewels. Right? And that has been my assumption. Who knows? They could totally surprise us still.
It's true. They could surprise us. But it seems like this is it. Like this is when Billy Bones has the treasure map where X marks the spot. And he says, beware the one-legged man, that this is what he's talking about. Is this treasure right here.
Right. But in Treasure Island but Silver doesn't know where it is in Treasure Island, does he? Doesn't he need the map?
Oh, yeah.
Am I right?
So,
I'm right about that.
No, you are right about that.
That's what I kept thinking. Like, see,
something different is going to come out. You're absolutely right.
I had gone through that thought process at the end of season 3. Still also not knowing that there was no season 4, but I was like, oh God, is this it? But
no, Silver needs it. Yeah. So I bet Flint's got a... I bet this is still it, though. I bet Flint digs it up and hides it from Silver.
Yeah.
Right? This has still got to be this treasure chest.
It.
Yeah. Right?
That That's
we don't know.
We don't know.
I'm going to go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put my money on that, though, and say that this is the treasure chest from the book. It will obviously be moved, but this is the one.
You need to save predictions because that is going to be our game with Lauren. In our
it's season 4 predictions. Okay, I'll save it. Spoilers, I guess.
So save your predictions because you and Lauren and I, we're going to state them. We're going to write them down, and at the end of season 4, we're going to see which of us got the most right.
Excellent. I like it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about this scene.
It's beautiful.
Yes,
I love all of them in the darkness.
We're just going to say, I love it. I love it. I love
yes,
it, just like
the
I
whole time.
predicted.
I love it. It was gorgeous. It was so pretty. It's the best thing I ever saw. It was amazing. My mind was blown.
Yes, it is beautiful. I have to say, and I've been joking about this for months now, it makes me so happy to have Silver and Jack finally in a scene together. It gives me great joy.
That's right. Yeah. It didn't last very long, but it was nice.
No, but it will. Yeah,
the irony is not lost on us.
Exactly. So perfect.
Thank you.
So,
yep,
it was glorious. So I love that Silver starts talking about secrets amongst friends.
Yes.
And then Flint says, "Oh, is that what we are now?" And then Jack's like, "Oh no, he's not talking about you.
No, not you." The Queen. Hello. You funny man.
Silver's other friends.
Yes.
That's where they say the thing about how Silver, that the Queen and Flint had agreed that they could hide it as long as Silver knew where it was. Which is hilarious irony. It's also very significant.
And very smart. Yes. Yeah, and significant.
Right? The Silver that the Queen and Maddie know is the Silver of now, and the Silver in relation to them.
Yeah.
Not all the versions of Silver that we've seen.
Yes, that's very true.
So then Jack leaves them. Mm-hmm. He has a war to prepare for.
And we see those beautiful ships on the horizon.
Yeah, we do.
Am I skipping ahead? Sorry, that was gorgeous.
No, that's the next thing is that Silver says, okay, a few days from now, the fortifications are built. A few days from now, you will be staring down King George's navy. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we see Flint do. And we see those fortifications. Yeah, I just love that. Immediately gave us some context of what, where we are.
Yes.
And what we'll be seeing. Like, that's just a little bit of a snippet. So then we go immediately back to Flint and Silver, and Flint says, "Do you have second thoughts?" And Silver's like, "Aren't you having second thoughts? Like, this is going to be pretty horrible."
Yeah. Well, and of course he knows what we don't yet, which is that he's going to sacrifice a lot of the crew there on the beach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
For the ambush.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I hadn't thought about that. When they're having that conversation, they both obviously noted the strategy because it had already been set in motion. And what a strategy it is.
It's quite a strategy.
My strategy-loving self is very happy in this episode. So then Silver starts talking to Flint about the things he used to think.
Yes. When he talks about when they were starving, and he talked to Billy about the mythos of Flint, basically, right?
Right, basically, right. Then, and when he starts talking about this, about Flint's darkest thoughts becoming their reality manifest, he pauses in the digging. I just think that the whole, when he's digging and when he's not digging is very interesting.
It is very interesting and significant, yes.
Right. And so he says that his anger became the storm, we know this, his despair became the doldrums. And then he does say, in my defense, I hadn't had any food or drink
anything
for days.
Right.
And that's when Flint starts digging again. Because maybe, I don't know, it seems like maybe Flint's like, okay, this conversation, this is still a safe conversation. I can go back to my digging.
Yes. Oh, you're just teasing.
And then, right. And then Silver, he continues and says, well, that being said, I don't think I'm that far off.
Right. Your demons are a part of our reality, such as the influence of the power you wield.
Right.
Man, that was powerful.
So then he says, some of the demons I know, the one in whose name this war is about to be fought is a stranger for me. So I want to bring this back to the last time we've talked about the last time Flint's demons were brought up as demons was when Miranda was talking to Eleanor.
Oh,
and
yes.
said-
I was there when they were born. I know their names.
Exactly. But Miranda was talking about the demons that plagued Flint. What Silver's talking about is a ghost. We're back to ghost stories.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And I feel like Silver knows this already, that Silver understands that this is because of grief, because the same way he explained about Miranda. I think Silver already understood that this has to do with something that Flint lost, not somebody who was an adversary to Flint. I feel like he suspects that. I mean, maybe
Now,
not, because
and I was
later he
going to
talks
ask
about
that,
the
like,
class of people.
I was going to ask, how does he know that this war is being fought in someone's name?
I think he understands Flint. He's seen Flint and his vengeance. I just feel like maybe not. Maybe I'm reading into that because I know Flint's story, but
You think it's just an educated guess that there must be more to the backstory, basically?
yeah, again,
He just
you
says
know,
it with such conviction.
he does. I don't
Uncertainty.
think he actually knows anything. But he knows Flint. I mean, we have, this would not be a new development in their relationship that Silver can read Flint in a way that seems bizarrely intuitive. So then he says, "Will you tell me?"
And I really like that he asks instead of demands that he be told, because he could say, you need me to win this war. I won't do it unless you tell me this, that, and the other. But instead he asks, he makes that request.
Right. And we can, let's talk in the next portion with the two of them about what we think is going on between them.
Okay. Fair enough.
Let's leave that hanging.
Sure.
The fact that it's lovely that he asks, and then we can, we'll revisit.
Okay. Fair enough.
The tone of the conversation in a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so then the next thing we see is this gruesome battle, like we see now.
Just the brutality of war, right? Gosh, it's awful.
It is truly, truly awful. Right. I mean, and they're really just, we just go straight into it. You go like, I love that the shovel hitting the ground is the bombing, like that we hear that transitions.
Yeah.
So we're just like jump straight into it. We're like we heard about that it was going to be bloody, and then we just really just see it. It's just very, and also the contrast of this quiet moment, which I think didn't Silver even say that this quiet moment before we start, like that you have this quiet of the two of them, and then just chaos.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we have that for a bit, and then we move to the ships, and I feel like that was neat to have the chaos first and then the ships, because we are in a uncomfortable place when we enter the conversation with Jack and Anne.
Oh,
Because she's in an uncomfortable
quite. Yeah, she looks pretty nervous.
She looks pretty nervous, and we've just seen what is a version of what's waiting for them as well.
Yes.
So we really are immersed in that same nervousness.
Right. It's just, we're going to sail into that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I just wanted to say that, again, we have new Jack.
Yes.
And it's weird because what I kept noticing, especially after our conversation last week, was, we talked about how we'd kind of lost the plucky Jack. Is that was the word you used?
Yes. I think so.
And in a way, he's back again. Like he's, but it's a new version. Like it's his optimism, but combined, I feel like, with a new sense of purpose.
Yes, I think that's right. He's absolutely driven. He has a great sense of purpose. And he does well in a crisis. So this is definitely crisis mode, and he's buckling down.
Right. And this is the thing that we started to talk about last week. We kind of had to stop ourselves because we were talking about how in his first day of pirate school, when things really got down to the wire, suddenly he performed beautifully.
Yep.
And this also, the other thing I wanted to talk about in relation to last week is, remember I said that I felt like Jack had somewhat given up the, my name, the, personal glory part of it.
Oh, yes,
And I feel like that might be part of it, too. That he's working, sure, he was part of the coalition.
Right.
In Nassau when they had the gold and they were trying to build, new Nassau. but he was still always in it for himself, for him building it so that Jack Rackham would be among the names of the famous pirates.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really have any guarantee of that here in this crazy, like, one ship going to try to attack the British Navy.
Right, yeah.
So I feel like this really is kind of a further proof that perhaps him letting go of it being about Jack Rackham and really being about some larger goal might help him become this much more capable leader.
Yeah, I think you're right. No, I think he has more, he's held more accountable because it's not just about him and about his name.
Exactly. I mean, his responsibility is funny. In a way, his responsibility is less because he's not the guy in charge.
Right.
Like he is working in a subordinate role to Flint. Like he's part of the larger plan.
Right.
And again, like he's letting go. Like maybe we'll talk about this in the end. Like I felt like I was thinking a lot when I was preparing for this episode. I was thinking a lot about hubris.
Uh-huh.
And that perhaps Jack's hubris has always been this thing about his name.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Maybe when he lets go of that a little bit, he's actually capable of being the man that he was supposed to be. Because he always had it there. Remember we talked about, like you said, he would have been really good at chess version of warfare.
Right. Uh-huh.
So maybe letting go of this like layer of always thinking kind of from the outside of himself of how this will be seen allows him to like be centered and actually do the thing that he always had the brains to do. He always had the the capability was in there somewhere, but maybe it was a self-consciousness of always thinking about his name that is what kept him from doing a good job of it.
I like that very much. Yeah, it makes sense.
So yeah, it was actually, one of our Megans, we have a few Megans, and I didn't write down her Twitter handle. It was one of our Megans who said something in the last episode about Jack doing better, possibly in a subordinate role.
Yeah.
And that kind of took me down that road. So thank you, Megan. He explains his plan. He explains the plan. I don't know if it's his plan. He explains the plan to Anne about how they just need to get the Vanguard on one ship.
Yes.
And harass the line. And then there's the line I love where he says, to create uncertainty and undermine the confidence in their command.
Uh-huh. I know how they feel. Jeez, Anne. Excuse me. Kind of need you right now.
Hey, she does her job.
It's
she
true.
Needs to give him a little shit first.
It does seem pretty crazy in her defense.
Yes. And then we get some de Groot being, his de Grooty self.
Right.
They see those ships, and de Groot's like, oh, okay, I have to go tell Flint.
Yeah.
Retreat time.
He's kind of a wet blanket. It's true.
I know. No. I love him too.
No,
I love him
course.
too. Don't get me wrong. I just kind of have to give him shit every week because he's just so hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I love how Jack talks to him. This again, it's different Jack.
Mm-hmm.
He's not doing that thing of like being kind of frustrated and like, oh, I don't know, just like throwing his hands in the air. Like he's being a captain. So so he explains to Groot that there is no plan B. That Flint there is no plan in which Flint retreats.
Mm-hmm.
And then he notices the ships. He notices the makeup of the group of ships that are coming their way, and he recognizes it. And I love that.
That is really cool. It's a nice touch, and I like that. Yeah, as they first come, he seems to recognize it, but he does ask. He asked the person up in the crow's nest to describe the ships to him, so he doesn't really jump to the conclusion. He makes certain first. I like it quite a lot.
Yep,
and tells de Groot to shut up, doesn't he? I
yes,
like that a lot too.
Yeah, de Groot starts to argue with him, and he says, "Shut up," and then he tells them to steer towards those ships, and de Groot starts arguing again, and he says,
"You're going to attack them? Yeah, time is short." Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and I love that. I mean, he's just being a great leader. He's just like, "Look, I don't need to explain myself to you. I am the captain of this ship right now." And he is.
It's great, and he is, and he's nailing it. Yep, I'm proud.
Yes, I think Jack now can have his graduate degree in pirate captain school.
Excellent. Yes, he can. If we have anything to say about it.
Super pleased with him this whole I mean, okay. Granted, I'm super pleased with Jack all the time.
Pretty much all the time.
as you know, as everyone knows. But I don't know. I'm psyched for him. I'm happy for Jack that he's getting shit done.
Yeah, he sure is. Yeah.
All right. So then we go back to the beach. And let's see. Oh, right. Okay, so the redcoats are coming up on their little boats. I know there's an official name for those little boats, but we'll just have to do with little boats for now. And
I think the longboats, right? Those are longboats.
Are those longboats? Yeah, those probably are longboats.
I think I should know my terminology better.
I know. I was going to say after all this time,
but I'm just a fan, and the jargon is hard. Yeah. Well, this actually put me in mind of did somebody tell us what that was called too? The way they stopped the ships the last episode? I feel like somebody told us what that was called.
Yes, that is called a med mooring.
Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, it reminded me of when he did that last episode, and he had to be to the minute, like to the second he had to call the time. And then he was doing the same thing with calling the time for the retreat.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, he was absolutely. And right. And Dooley kept saying, okay, it's time.
Yep.
And he kept saying, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah. Flint knows. That was fascinating. Flint's timing is impeccable.
He is a great commander. There's no question.
And I love seeing him on the front lines with everyone.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we did actually, for the first time since the beginning of Fathoms Deep, we watched together.
Which was really great.
Yeah, it was really fun. And I joked about that because I was like, yeah, as if Flint would let anyone else be in front commanding what's going on. He's such a micromanager.
Kind of a control freak, our boy Flint.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, he's definitely given up a little bit lately. The crown's a tiny bit later, but
is true.
He's another thing we need to talk about. He is holding tight to that crown still.
Yes, he sure is. Mm-hmm. Yes, he is.
The thing that I thought was fascinating, I mean, and I remember hearing about this. I mean, I just thought it was really interesting to watch the two groups and how both of them used similar but different techniques. I mean, Flint is from the British military originally. Mm-hmm. So one thing that's cool is he would definitely know exactly how they're going to behave, even though he was Navy and the Redcoats are not Navy. But still, he would know exactly how they would behave. And I just thought it was fascinating watching how they had the different lines, and one line would shoot and then the other one would come through and shoot. And then,
yeah.
And I know, I mean, I've read about that. It was just neat to see it.
It's always neat, yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that on the pirate side, they had something similar. They had one line shooting and another line behind them reloading.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I just like that. I'm sure people who have seen many more military movies and shows were like, are just saying,
well, that's how it was done. Yeah.
Exactly. But I really enjoyed watching it, and I don't watch a lot of those kinds of things. So it was really cool.
I do. So yes.
So they did the.
Well, you have to reload between every shot. It's a very different kind of warfare. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. It is a very different kind of warfare. Okay, so they do their smoke thing and their retreat thing,
which is beautiful.
I loved the cannons inside of the sand, even though one of them didn't work, where they pull the cords. That was also very cool.
Very cool. Very smart.
Those are probably not called cannons. Those are mortars, right?
Mortars, I think, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We all followed.
Sorry, everyone.
It's okay. We're not. If we were planning our own wars, we might be upset with you, but...
You definitely don't want me planning your wars.
No.
I'll talk about the themes of the war, but you don't want me actually planning the war.
Excellent.
Then we get the whole thing with this whole British people making assumptions about pirates.
Yes, sure.
Oh, I guess I don't have to be coy anymore.
No, now you don't.
We don't have to be coy anymore. Mm-hmm. As if we've been coy for the past 27 episodes. About what is we can just say it now, like what the thesis. Let's just say the thesis statement
right now. The thesis statement for the season finale of season 3. Go ahead. I want you do the honors.
To be underestimated is an incredible gift.
Hell yeah, it is. Cheers.
Hell yeah, it is. And if there wasn't ever an episode that had a clearer theme to it,
right?
Okay, so now I could use that word. So yes. Major Rollins definitely underestimates them and is like, okay, go chase them. But Hornigold
Yeah.
Because he's a pirate.
Hornigold
It's
knows.
like,
And I was kind
yep.
of pissed to see him, though. I was like, damn it, Hornigold. I hate it when you're competent. Can you just go back to sitting in your chair and looking at things?
But
But
know
he
what I
knows.
love?
What's that?
You know what I love about Hornigold showing up?
What's that?
Is that they knew he would be there. Their whole plan hinges on Hornigold.
Oh.
And remember, Chamberlain didn't want to send Hornigold, and Eleanor convinced him. They knew there was no way that Hornigold wasn't going to be there. If Hornigold hadn't been there, this whole thing with Dobbs.
You think so?
Yeah,
Because they just would have chased him right away.
they would have just killed him or done whatever. Like it was Hornigold who needed an angle.
Interesting. Jeez, that blows my mind. Wow. That's some good strategizing.
Yeah, and I guess you could say that was a happy coincidence for Flint. I don't think so. I think that, Flint knew the players well enough to know that
Right.
there was no
Who
way
was gonna
that
show up on
Hornigold
that
wasn't
beach.
going to be there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knows that Hornigold has a grudge against him.
Yeah.
So it's,
That's true.
again, this is pirates understanding pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Flint and
Absolutely.
Silver outmaneuvered Hornigold, but Hornigold's no dummy.
Yeah, that's true. And he sure wasn't on that beach. I was pretty impressed with
no.
him, actually.
Exactly.
And he said, that man is capable of all that you say and more. And he
Yep.
sure is. We know it.
Yep. Right. We know it. The redcoats don't know it, but boy, do we know it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Then we see the black spot, I think. That,
yep,
right?
that we're in the okay. And I want to bring up one thing real quickly about the governor's mansion.
Okay.
In that first scene with the governor's mansion, I am pretty positive, and I didn't go back and check it, but I am almost positive that scene when you first see them when they're talking to I can't do his name.
Throckmorton, yeah. Mhm.
Throckmorton.
Mm-hmm.
When they're talking to Throckmorton, you see the stairs behind them with those big windows with the light pouring in, and I am almost positive that that's where one of the dreams was set. When Flint and
When Flint
Miranda
goes up
were
the stairs to
standing.
Miranda. Yeah,
Exactly.
interesting.
I'm almost positive. I wasn't sure back then, but I'm almost positive it's those stairs in the governor's mansion. And I don't know what that means for the dreams, but I just wanted to say that because I feel like it's true.
Interesting. Huh. Okay.
So yeah, feel free to tell me, anyone, if that's not true. I'm not
Sure.
really invested in it. I just thought it was kind of neat.
It could just be
okay.
that that's the set staircase that they had. So
Right. So we have the black spot, which is now another big Treasure Island thing.
It
They're just the Treasure Island
is.
things are just throwing themselves at us.
I know. Well, and I love that the guy says that Throckmorton says it was a bullshit story, then it's a bullshit story now. And I thought, oh no, but stories are so powerful. Don't you go throwing that right out the window.
Yeah, well, he's just not a very good pirate, clearly.
Clearly.
Also, we have to talk about the fact that Billy did the black spot.
I know.
Billy.
He's the one. That's right. So when he gets
He's
it,
the
of
one who-
course he's going to be afraid.
But how insane is? I mean, well, the irony, the layers of irony
It's true.
here.
Although it came from Avery, like it was before his time, but he was the one, right?
But to have him use it here
It's
and then
true.
have him have him so afraid of it
Yeah.
later on
Well,
in Treasure
of course,
Island.
He's the one who wrote the story about why you should fear it and made sure that it was enforced. It's
I
brilliant.
love it.
No, I love it.
I love it.
It's the only
I
way
love
to
it.
do it.
I know. I just, yeah. I just, we have now Silver's leg. We had the chest. We had the black spot. Are we going to just not talk? No, I don't care. In season 4, I'm not predicting. I just would like for Treasure Island stuff. Oh, right. We have Gun. So we have a few Treasure
Yeah,
Island things
sure.
that have shown up. But I'm really looking forward to every single one of them and how they use it.
Yes,
That's what I'm
for sure.
fascinated about is like how they use the Treasure Island things in Black Sails.
Mm-hmm. I
So,
like it.
Yeah. So yeah, Black Sails creators, loving it. Okay, so they have this conversation about the gibbet. Ew.
Right.
What a horrible tradition. That is just so gross to like have dead men in cages on streets.
Yep. Terrible.
Yeah, it's really gross. I saw one when I went to the Pirate Museum in Cape Cod this summer.
Oh,
They had a
wow.
gibbet there.
Really? Ugh.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah. Pretty gross.
Yep, I bet. Man.
It was just, it was kind of horrifying. So Max and Eleanor are explaining it to the naval officer person who we've seen before, but I don't know his name. And then Max is recommending that they remove Vane from the gibbet. Mm-hmm. And the naval officer says that in light of this threat and in light of Flint, if we remove him, it will make us appear weak.
Right. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
We don't negotiate with terrorists. And then I love what Max says. She says, I worry about making self-defeating choices out of fear of seeming weak.
That's smart. Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. And then Eleanor says, he's right. Why is Eleanor not saying she's right? Eleanor should be saying she's right. I'm so annoyed with Eleanor at that moment. She's like, you know what? Listen to Max.
Yeah.
She's smart cookie. Like, she knows her stuff.
I didn't notice that detail, but you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was super just like, Eleanor, stop making bad choices.
Good luck with that. Season 4 predictions.
Yes. Yes. No more predictions. Next week or 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, we'll have the season 3 wrap. She says that that removing the gibbet risks undermining the governor's leadership.
Oh.
And this reminds me of early Eleanor, of, Eleanor the tyrant. This is the language of tyranny. Right?
Right, yeah.
And Rogers is about to go down that road with her, basically.
I liked what he said. If you have enemies, let them be mine too.
I understand why you like that. I am troubled by it myself.
Oh, it's yeah, go ahead. Explain why.
Well, because this is a man who wanted to peacefully take over Nassau in name at least, or, ideally in the vision of what James and Thomas talked about a long time ago, of doing the pardons and repurposing this community of people towards lawful, productive activities. And while he was, passed out with his sickness, Eleanor changed the whole tone of what they're doing.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I mean, hanging Vane was, as we know, a choice that she made.
Right.
And again, I love how the scene is structured also, because when she walks into his room, he's standing in the window and she said, you should be in bed. And he said, I've been in bed long enough. And I remember the first time I watched that, I thought perhaps he was criticizing her because he's like looking out the window at Vane.
Oh, yes, I see.
And she did too. She says, I know how it seems. And then, part of me likes him for giving her the compassion that he says it seems as though a difficult choice was made or a difficult thing was done.
Difficult thing was done, yeah.
But he's making the wrong choices now. He's making the wrong choices because he loves her.
Well, we talked about that last episode, right? About when darkness or whatever it is, like emotions will cloak themselves in whatever they need to.
Right.
To be the impetus to get you to take action. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't even know. I'm not sure if he's deluded.
No, he's making a choice.
He's making a choice. Exactly. I think he's making a choice.
But it's a choice he would not make if he was not in love with her. Yes.
Right. Exactly. And also, I mean, he spoke throughout this season about being afraid of both of them getting sucked into the culture of Nassau. Like, you remember when he said, like, every day I feel myself less tied to England. And I feel I fear that you are becoming more and more the self that you were. And I think you could make a good argument for like that, all of those predictions coming true.
Oh, man. So much to look forward to in season 4.
So much to look forward to in season 4. Okay, so our next scene is Jack and Anne boarded the ship, one of the ships that they went to go meet.
Oh, yeah.
I love that on the upper deck, everyone's in British military uniform. So we already know exactly what the strategy was. Although I think on first watch, I probably felt a little uncertain about it. I'm sure I did, because they were flying British colors and they were all in British military, and yet they guided them downstairs. And then we have Jack and Teach, and it's been a few episodes since we had Jack and Teach, and like Jack and Teach is kind of my happy place, I guess. This episode in particular I was probably so delighted by them in earlier episodes when we discussed season 3 because of the effects of this episode. Because this Jack, okay, again, I'm doing a wish. My wish in season 4 is that every single episode has Jack and Teach together because
Sure.
I love these two together so much. They delight me to no end. They do.
I like that. No, it's a great idea.
Really, actually, I kind of want the Jack and Teach. Like, I want a spin-off. I would like a show that's just like Jack and Teach, where Jack is insecure and talkative and Teach is stoic, and that would just make me so happy. Yeah, it could be like one of those romances where, you know, one of those shows where you're like waiting for the couple to get together. You could go through seasons before Teach actually recognizes that Jack is pretty much okay.
Oh my God. Yes. I love it.
And every episode you're just waiting. You're just like, please
But if that's
do
the
it.
case,
No,
then
he
once they
doesn't
actually
do it.
put them together, you're not going to like it.
Right. It'll be exactly like that thing where you want the couple to get together and then they get together and you're like, oh, I'm not interested in this show anymore. I want that show.
No.
Okay, so they come down and I like how Jack introduces that he says the types of ships again. I just really love that. I loved it in the last scene where he names the types of ships and he names it again. And he says, I once had a fleet of that makeup.
Yep.
And he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then Teach tells them that Charles is dead.
Oh, it's a devastating.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And we even watched it happen. And
I
yet
know,
it's still
but
devastating
still.
to watch them talk about it. So, yeah. And I love what he said. He said, on the island I helped to build, the governor thought he could do that with no consequences. He failed to account for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love Teach. I love him very much.
He is a badass.
He is a badass. But again, he is a vulnerable, wonderful badass. Like,
the best kind.
he is, right.
The most dangerous kind.
The most dangerous kind is so true. And, you know, and the kind that we generally get in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He is so angry and so dangerous and so terrifying and so sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love him. I love him very much. We really should have someone do me say the word love count this episode. It's going to be way more than usual. And then Jack said that English law hanged him, but the person who fashioned that noose was no he.
That's right, was Guthrie. Now, I have a question though really quick. Mm-hmm. How did Blackbeard find them?
I know. I have that question too. That is a question.
Because this island was completely hidden, right? No one knew about it?
I came up with a theory.
Okay, good. We need one.
Okay. I did think about that this week, and this is my theory about it, is that he also has the codes. I mean, we're about to get to that scene. We haven't gotten there yet.
Sure. Okay.
He has the codes to use to signal the British fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Rogers had sent out word to ask for help.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming that wherever he got those codes, whether it's spies or whether it's, you know, torturing someone to get that information.
Okay.
He also probably got the coordinates.
Sure. All right. I'll buy it.
Okay. That was what I decided in my mind. I was like, yep, that works. Okay. Letting it go.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Yep. That's all you can do.
Right. Exactly. So I like that Jack uses then that to say, you know, pretty much you need to help us.
Yes. Uh-huh. And I love that threat to settle the account with Eleanor.
Right. Mm-hmm. I love that threat. And right. He says there's no victory on her without a victory here.
Yes.
And it's just, again, this is just, Jack is rocking it. He's just amazing here. Mm-hmm. Love him.
So this is when we get our cut back to Silver and Flint. And first we have that little bit of overlap of Flint's dialogue. It's Flint who's talking when he says madness is such a hard thing to define. And we're still looking at Blackbeard.
Yeah. And we're still looking at Blackbeard.
Uh-huh. Yep. Who later on is who we see when Billy calls him mad. Uh-huh.
A madman.
A madman. Yep.
Yes. Everything. It's like clockwork this episode.
Well, you know how they like clocks.
Oh, God. I can't believe I just said that.
Yes.
Oh, now it's my fault. I brought clocks into this episode. There are no clocks in this episode. I was actually thinking about that.
That's
wow,
funny.
we've actually had a little time off from clocks. Sorry, everyone.
Although, really, I think that the shovel in the soil was similar to that TikTok.
It's always clocks.
Yep. The passing of time.
So we're back to the campfire.
Right,
and
right.
Flint's talking about madness and how Thomas was labeled mad.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time I watched this, we left them the last time when Silver asked for the story. We didn't know what Flint was going to tell him.
No,
And I remember when we come back to them being so surprised that he's telling the actual story.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It surprised me too. I wasn't ready for him to be telling the truth. And with such candor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, this is... Yeah, we'll talk about this at the end. But yes, Flint is laying himself bare in a lot of ways. And it breaks my heart.
Surprising. Well, what do you think of when he says he knew then that England was broken and sooner or later a good man must resist it? Does he think himself a good man?
I think he does.
You think he does?
I think he always has.
He just seems so filled with self-loathing.
Yes.
I mean, I'm glad that he thinks himself a good man, even if his actions are pretty terrible most of the time.
Well, but that's what it is. I think that Flint has always seen himself as a good man who was forced to do bad actions.
Oh, because of this circumstance that he finds himself in because of this broken world. Okay.
And I think partly his paternalism, because he thinks that only he, again, back to his micromanaging and his control freakedness and all of that. Ultimately, I think this is Flint's tragic, if not fatal flaw.
Yes.
Is that he doesn't trust other people, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he does. He sees himself as a good person. He sees himself possibly as the only one who truly understands the big picture here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he sees the things he does as necessary, and that the torment has always been that other people don't understand the good person that he thinks he is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Back to that line where Silver says, "You care what they think about you."
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
That's always been my assessment of Flint, and this is why my heart just always breaks for him because because even though he does terrible things, he wants to do good.
Yes.
He wants to do good. He believes he's doing good on some level. Mm-hmm. And that's why, when he broke down, in the beginning of this season, I think that's the tension. I mean, he broke down because he lost Miranda. Mm-hmm. But I think ultimately the thing that is hardest for Flint always is this feeling of being alone and misunderstood.
Yeah.
And that's a horrible place to be.
Yep.
And in large part, it is of his doing.
It absolutely is. Uh-huh.
There's some stuff I want to discuss about Flint and Silver at the end of this of our episode. Because I feel like this episode kind of brought us back to our core. There are amazing moments for other characters here, but this episode shows us yet again that this show is really about Flint and Silver.
Yes, it certainly does.
What I do love about the way he's telling the story to Silver, I mean, other than his honesty and his rawness and his, his kind of beautiful openness. I mean, we just haven't seen Flint be like that in a very long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess not since season 2, actually.
I think that's right.
We have not seen Flint be like this. And I feel like it's almost a relief for us in a way to see him just speaking and not... At this point in their conversation, I don't feel like he's posturing. I think he's just really just being himself, whatever that means.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that Silver is right, that he is looking for that partner again, that this is the person he's assuming is going to be his.
Right.
And maybe that was even part of why he asked, is that what we are now? Are we friends? I mean, maybe he does kind of want that.
Oh, he definitely wants this. I mean, I'll tie this back to last last episode when we talked about whether Flint wants Silver to be like him, whether he just assumes he's like.
Yes.
Oh no, I think in these, again, we can now talk about these two episodes the way we started to last episode. I really feel like these two episodes are two parts of a whole.
Yes, sure.
I think that Flint wants, in the end of season 2, he lost Miranda. Mm-hmm. And then he's been adrift.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively adrift this whole season. And I think he finally, I think the shark killing was kind of the moment that Silver's confession and the shark killing was the moment when he and Silver kind of came to the beginning of a true partnership.
Right.
Yes, they had been strategic partners, but but actually with some sense of equality and openness. Mm-hmm. I think that Flint wants that more than anything in the world. We also talked about that last episode, how what you want is the most dangerous thing to you. I think that Flint wants very desperately to make a real connection with Silver.
Wow.
I know. Which is super tragic,
especially considering the next line here. Right. Well, first he says, "I'm genuinely sorry," which is lovely.
Right. Wait. Before that, I am. See, even when we're doing chronologically, I want to stop you for a second. I just want to talk about how Flint is talking about Thomas.
Okay.
He is speaking with no shame.
Oh, that is right.
Right. He's talking about the relationship. He's talking about what he says. Once our relationship had been exposed, defiled, and scandalized. He's talking about what England did to their relationship. But he's not talking about the relationship that way.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? That part just made me so happy for him that he was able to speak about his relationship without the shame that he was still holding on to in season 2. Mm-hmm. Right. And then... First, Silver says, "I don't know what to say," which is exactly what he said to Maddie when he came to see her about Scott dying. So the fact that he used the same words, and yet the interaction going forward is so different on both sides from that moment. So he does say, "I'm truly sorry." So there's that. Mm-hmm. But when Silver said, "I don't know what to say," Maddie turned to him and went full on vulnerability. Flint didn't. Flint pulled back a tiny bit, I feel, when he says, "You don't have to say anything. I felt like you deserved this answer."
Right. And he said that very quickly, too.
Yes, he did. For me, I see I'm trying to decide if to save this for later or talk about it. No, I think I'll talk about it now. For me, this shows an intrinsic difference between Flint and Maddie in their ability to connect with other people.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
I just feel like the fact that Silver said the exact same words, that "I don't know what to say," and kind of put out his own vulnerability the same way in both cases, I felt like that's a very deliberate parallel that shows us how Maddie's versus Flint's response is so different. Mm-hmm. I mean, sure, she just lost her father, and Flint's been living with the loss of Thomas for a long time, but still, I feel like, Flint did that thing where kind of like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I don't need I don't need that level of sympathy right now. And I feel like that's very significant.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that more in a little bit. But Silver immediately goes from "I'm so sorry" to "You can see how this would be a concern for me."
Yeah, which genuinely surprises Flint. I like that. Excuse me.
Exactly. It's like, dude, seriously? He just told you this story and this is where you're going with it?
Very Silver.
It is and it isn't. Again, we've now seen a different side of Silver, a very compassionate side of Silver.
Sure, but not towards Flint.
Not towards Flint. And this is where I start to suspect that this whole thing was a bit orchestrated by Silver.
You think so?
I do. I will lay out my plan.
Okay,
I don't mean
sure.
I hate to cast shade on Silver because I do love him. But, okay, so Silver then goes into his into his laying out this why he should be concerned about that there were two people who got that close to him and were partners to him and knew him and then are dead.
Yes.
And now he's found out that there's a third member of this class.
Mm-hmm.
And he suggests that those closest to you meet their end not just during their relationship with you, but because of it.
Which is super harsh, right?
So harsh.
I felt like that was a little bit unnecessary.
Again, I'm going to argue that
think it was
this
orchestrated?
all orchestrated.
Gosh.
Yeah. I hate to say it. That's why I pause at the whole, like, in the beginning where Silver's seeming compassionate and seeming, the whole asking, will you tell me? Mm-hmm. Again, I can't say 100% for sure, and I obviously don't know what's going to happen in season 4.
Right.
But my impression was that this was such a strategic conversation on the Silver side, including the seeming compassion. And again, I don't mean that he doesn't have compassion for Flint. I mean, their relationship is so complex.
Yeah.
I think that Silver is completely capable of having true compassion for Flint and at the same time being 100% strategic, and there's just such a clear line of the progression of this conversation that it's hard to imagine that that Silver didn't to some extent understand where this was going from the beginning.
Oh, that's interesting.
He says, now there is no one closer to you than I, after laying out this thing. And he quotes Flint saying, you are the one who said that the darkest motives cloak themselves in reason. And he says, even if that's not true. So he basically accused Flint of convincing himself that he wasn't the end of all the people but he says, even if that's not true, a pattern is a pattern.
Yep, a pattern is a pattern, and only a fool ignores them because he does not care for the implications.
Exactly.
That hit home. That was a good one. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, how do you argue with that exactly? And then he says, Flint says, so you're concerned that I'll be your end. And then he says that Silver says, in the beginning, I partnered with you out of necessity. Mm-hmm. And then I reached a place of respect, even friendship. Mm-hmm. And so he says, I'm unnerved by the idea that when this pattern applies to you and I will have to be the end of you.
Which is so interesting. I like that word unnerved, too.
Mm-hmm.
And especially since he says, because, I have respect for you and we've become a friend. And we've become friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting language. I'm unnerved by the thought.
Right. To me, it seems like the perfect language because saddened might be too personal.
Uh-huh. Sure. Yeah.
Unnerved shows that he would be troubled, like that it would be troubling for him to have to kill Flint.
Yes. And not even necessarily to kill him, but to be his end.
Oh, that's
which
true.
Is different.
To be his end. That's true. That is totally true. Oh.
Well, I think of more of more of usurping him than
right.
Yeah.
Totally true. Mm-hmm. Could be. Although we did just talk about people dying. So yes.
We did.
There is definitely
that is
a threat.
True. Yeah.
There is
there's a veiled threat. Yeah, you're right about that.
Right. So then he says the difference between himself and the other people in that class. And he said that the three before were all vulnerable to you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They had more to lose and less means to protect themselves. And now I would like to bring up in season 2 when Silver was talking to Billy. When Billy reemerged and Silver was talking to him about himself, and Billy says, that's where he talked about being liked, not feared. That he said that being liked is as good as being feared.
Yes.
And Billy's like, wait a minute. So you think that Flint killed Gates and me and you were lining up to be next? Mm-hmm. And Silver then said the difference between me and the two of you is that I didn't believe in him. There is no talk here about his difference from the other people in the class being about belief, which is appropriate because we know that Silver believes in Flint.
Yes, we do.
This whole season was about that. So I just found that shift a little bit interesting. I also find it interesting because that whole talk with Billy was really a moment of Silver posturing. He was really like, he knew he wasn't, remember we talked about that like here is Silver talking to Billy about the power of being liked when Billy was the one who's truly liked.
Yeah. You don't tell Billy.
I just found this, I mean, this was again for me a hint that this was a planned out conversation from Silver's side, that there is this callback to something that where Silver was clearly posturing. And that he changed the language to be honest, all good lies. All good lies are made mostly of truth. He had to take belief out of there, because belief is no longer a way that Silver's not vulnerable to Flint. Silver is very vulnerable to Flint on that front. But he has new strengths.
Yes.
So now he's going to go into his new strengths, and this is where he introduces Dobs.
Yes. And the Dobs conundrum is brilliant.
Right.
Yeah.
So he said, until recently, I thought myself vulnerable as well. And that's where Flint he says, but now is something different. And Flint says it's natural for those new to power to think that it has no limits. So Flint's trying now, like he's changed. He's got
that great smirk too. Like I don't think that he is in the least bit threatened. I don't think he truly feels threatened by Silver.
Not yet.
Certainly not yet. No. In this moment, there's no way. In this moment, he's got that cute kid face on.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why Silver brings up Dobs. He's now about to prove to Flint.
Right. Which is interesting. That he would show his hand.
Well, because showing his hand, he's predicting. He's basically saying a few days from now. I mean, again, we have the structure of the show the way it is, so we see it all interspersed. Silver's saying a few days from now, when Dobs does exactly what I need him to do, you will know that everything I'm saying right now is true.
Right.
So yeah, so he says, we agreed that I would select the man. I selected Dobs, and Flint's like, what?
Yeah. Flint just has no idea how that could have been, because it's a choice that Flint could never have made.
Exactly.
It's perfect. That's what makes it so perfect. It perfectly illustrates how Silver being different from Flint makes him a threat to him.
Makes him more powerful. I mean, that's what this episode is about, is showing us that Silver...
be liked and feared. Which really, I mean, that's classic. That's Long John Silver. Liked and feared.
Exactly. So he says, so Flint says, wait, he resents you. This is so dangerous. You chose someone to resent. And Silver says he would resent you.
Yeah.
Had you disciplined him, he would resent you. And then what does he say? Towards me, he doesn't feel resentment. He feels shame.
There's that word.
There's that word, but there is the shame word. Suddenly, in a new context, I feel like for us, like Flint later talks about the ground shifting. This is the moment that the ground shifted.
Yeah.
For us, for the viewers who know this word so well and have seen it used so many times.
Right.
For it to be used in this context, in the context within the world of pirates.
Right.
And as a motivator towards leadership.
It's very different.
Yeah, shame just took on a whole new meaning for us. I love that so much. Yes, this is just a moment where I have to take a pause to just talk about the writing. Because this word has been drilled into our brains with one context.
Right.
And this is a moment where this new context, if you've been paying attention, just like the world shook right now when Silver said that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. So he says he's aware of Silver's disappointment in him. And he needs to redeem himself. And that he will do anything to redeem himself in Silver's eyes. Mm-hmm. This is a power that Flint never had over them.
It's so true. Yeah. Yeah. Never considered, I don't think.
Yeah, I think, well, that's the ultimate thing, is that I think that what Silver's doing here is actually outside of the realm of Flint's imagination about how to interact with people, how to lead.
Sure.
Okay, so while they're talking about this, we then see Dobbs.
Right. We see that
up
toss
to
of the gun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. It's very suspenseful. Not knowing
so suspenseful
how this is going to go. Mm-hmm.
I know. I remember
not really knowing who you want to win. Who do you want to be right?
I know. Oh, okay. Well, we'll get into that later. But just about Dobbs, like I've got to say, like this performance, this whole episode.
Yeah.
He's all of the expressions on his face could go in any direction.
Way. I know. It's really great. Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of ambiguity. It's really brilliant.
Right. Mm-hmm. I remember being so unsure what Dobbs was doing, and remember like noting, like looking at each one of his expressions and going, wait, is he doing what Silver wants? Is he portraying Silver? I don't know. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
Okay, so then, so then we have that whole bit where Hornigold then hands him the gun. Mm-hmm. And even when Hornigold takes the gun, like, I didn't know what was going to happen there. I remember thinking, God, what if he just shoots Dobbs?
Yeah. Gosh.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that just seemed very much like a possibility right there. And then he hands Dobbs the gun and says, I know too many men of Nassau. And he brings the other crew member over. Mm-hmm. Just now when we watched it together this week, when Dobbs shot the other crew member, you were like, what?
Yeah, well, I had forgotten. It was so fast. It was just so quick.
It was so fast. Yeah, the timing was beautiful. It was before you expected it to happen.
Mm-hmm. You wanted to see that little bit of that moment's hesitation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He did not hesitate.
No hesitation at all. Mm-hmm.
And what a beautiful, I mean, in hindsight, like, because still when you're watching there, you don't know what Dobbs is going to do.
Right, of course.
But when you rewatch this episode and you watch Silver describe what he's doing with Dobbs, and then you see how Dobbs does it with the ruthlessness with which you like, once you know that Dobbs is doing Silver's bidding,
right? Yes,
it's almost doubly strong the second time you watch it, because you're aware this whole time that everything Dobbs is doing is to do exactly what Silver said, to regain Silver's approval. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it chills me to the bone, actually, to watch it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so next we have the village, and Maddie finds that boy and brings him down to their underground cave. Yes. How cool is their underground cave?
Pretty darn
first
cool.
Of all?
Very neat. Yes, right? I like the caves in this show.
Oh my
Always
goodness!
Neat. Yep.
I'm just so impressed with the strategic capabilities of the queen. Mm-hmm. She just has everything covered.
She does. She's amazing. They're both amazing.
Right?
Yeah, and this is a great little exchange that they have.
I love it so much. I love these women.
Mm-hmm. They're amazing.
So she says now everyone is where they need to be.
Yeah, is where they belong. Uh-huh.
Right. Yeah. And the queen says, but you don't feel like you are where you belong.
Uh-huh. Which is great. It just shows how much she understands and knows her daughter.
I know. And respects her.
Yes. That's right. She does respect her.
Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's just... Yeah. I also, at the end, I want to talk about the parallel between these two and Flint and Silver. This scene is so important to, I think, to understanding also Silver and Flint, in addition to enjoying the beauty that is the relationship between this mother and daughter. Mm-hmm. I love the contrast. So I love what Maddie says. She says, if we are willing to lead these men to war, we should show that we're willing to lead them through it. Mm. And this goes to what you said, that you would love.
And it's so good. That was my favorite line, I think, that she said. If we can lead them to it, we should lead them through it. Yeah.
Right. And think about, again, I mean, sure, it is beautiful that Flint was on the front line, but my assumption is that that's about micromanaging.
Yeah.
When Maddie chooses to be on the front line, it's about supporting.
Yes.
It's about being a good leader to them, for them, to serve them, right?
Serving
Back
them.
to what
yeah,
she says.
absolutely.
Back to her whole thing about how the crown is about serving her people and doing the hard things.
Yes. Oh, she's so wonderful.
She's glorious. She really is glorious. And then she says to her mother, "You've protected me for so long. It's time I did the same for you."
Yeah. Oh.
And her mother lets her go.
Which is extraordinary.
Yes, they are fantastic, and I love that these two women for us are a real model of so many human traits. Like they really are just.
They absolutely are.
Okay, so the next thing we have is Billy and Jacob Garrett.
Yes, which is great. And Billy resuming his role as kingmaker.
Yep, exactly. Yes, I know. Don't you love that is that's just been there the whole time from the very beginning.
I absolutely love it. It's so great. Yeah.
I know. It's fantastic. I just find that it was a fascinating choice to have Billy skinning this goat. It's so, I don't know. I just always feel like every time, as many times as I've watched this episode, I'm just always really fascinated with like like just watching him do it,
like the mechanics of it.
Doing. Yeah, I really am. And like the hair covered knife,
Yep.
that he's like waves around while he's talking. So yeah, so he explains how like Jacob's a little concerned that I can't do the name Throckmorton. That Throckmorton is not, is acting like it's no big deal. And then Billy's like, of course he is. Like, we haven't even started yet.
Right. Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much.
It's really wonderful.
Billy is being very smart. And he tells a story about how Gates told him about the black spot. And that it wasn't the threat itself, but the idea that Avery even knew your name. Like this idea that this, So I wanted to say I really like that this is a ghost story also. That he talked about ghost stories with Flint, saying, about how I've never heard of a ghost story where the ghost comes and like declares his own, whatever word he used, his own scariness. But basically the whole idea of the black spot is essentially a ghost story as well.
Yeah.
With the ghost of Avery. I mean, again, Throckmorton poo-pooing.
Right.
But, we know how that turns out for him.
That's okay. Yep. He was just the first in a long line of examples that is going to lead other people to fear the black spot.
Exactly. Like Billy understood that Throckmorton's personal response was not what was important here.
Right. It was the building of the story, the building of the thing. Of the legend.
He definitely understands storytelling. He says, we've only begun to tell our story.
Right.
We need a villain.
Yes. Bring it on.
I love it. Yes, we do. We need a villain.
Smart. Yep. So smart.
And next we have Mapleton and Max.
Yeah. Just their quick little interaction.
Right. But it's an important interaction.
It is.
Right, because Mapleton brings up that Max did not report Odell either to the governor or to Eleanor.
Right.
And then we get a little view into where Max is. Like, we've had a lot of sad faces. We did actually have that same sad face after Eleanor agreed with the naval officer and then was like, the minute the doctor said something, she was like, okay, bye. I had to go see Rogers. So again, we got a good long look at Max looking very troubled. And so Max says, until the game unfolds, I choose to allow the players to reveal themselves, lest I make an enemy of someone I wish to call friend.
It's very smart. She's a smart girl.
It's very smart. She's a smart girl. Yes. Yeah. The part of it that just makes me sad is that, that Max she has put herself into a position now where she really is just by herself.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not, it was just the days of Gen X are long behind her. The days of Max and Anne also. and just, what she has sacrificed for the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, let's contrast her with Jack right now. Jack, who seems to have kind of given up his thing, the thing of his name,
right?
My name, and how he's, sure, he's actually in danger. He's in the middle of a war with the British Navy, and yet he's surrounded by people and actually possibly gaining some level. He gained recognition from Flint last episode. Perhaps some tiny bit of recognition from Teach in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack, having given up his thing that his backstory compelled him to pursue, has actually put him more within community. And Max, who has not even remotely given up the thing that her backstory compelled her to do, is in such isolation right now. I mean, she seems to be, I do believe that on some level she really wants to connect with Eleanor, but Eleanor is focused on Rogers.
Right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And making bad choices because of it. So she's not a good partner for Max. And then seriously, who does Max have right now? Mapleton?
Yeah. Oh dear.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a sad state of affairs.
It is. Oh.
Because even Adele and Featherstone are actually working with the conspiracy. They're not working with her.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I know. I'm super sad for Max right now.
Although she does have a lot of authority.
I know. But, I don't know. It seems a bit empty to me.
It does. Yeah.
Okay, so next we have Chamberlain and his people seeing the ships in the distance. And then we go to the best scene with Jack and Teach.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm just delighted even before we start talking about it because I love them. Teach says, you can count the things Flint and I agree on one hand, but we both shared a sincere confusion why Charles invested any energy in you.
So sad. I'm glad you're so amused. Look at you, just losing your mind.
I'm so amused by that line. And then he says, well, Flint seems to have seen some capacity in you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jack says, and? This scene kills me. And Teach says, and what? No, sorry. Oh, yeah, he does say, and what? And then he just glares at Jack. And then Jack starts filling in his words, the words he wishes Teach would say.
Poor Jack.
I always think about it. My daughter even said today, like, if you have to explain the joke.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If you have to fill in the compliment.
Right. Mm-hmm. Gosh.
Sorry. It kills me. It's just so funny. And then eventually Jack says, there wasn't any more to that. There was.
Yeah. There's no more to that thought, was there? Nope. Sorry, Jack.
But he rallies.
He does. Of course, he always does. He's our Jack.
I know. I love him. Because the naval ships signal that they need the codes, and Jack says, "Oh, you have the codes?" And Teach says, "Well, of course." Like he's really dismissing Jack.
Yeah.
Until Jack says, "Raise the black instead."
Oh, it's so ballsy. I do love it
so much.
Yeah,
I love
very
it
proud.
so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. Right. And that's when he says he believes we're beneath him.
Yeah.
Why give him any reason to doubt it? To be underestimated is an incredible gift.
Oh, it's so good. And again, excellent delivery of that line.
I love that that's right after they had this whole hilarious conversation beforehand.
Absolutely. It's perfect.
Which was all about Teach underestimating Jack. I love
Absolutely. No, it's perfect.
I love
it's
it.
Beautifully, beautifully done.
And then we get confirmation when Chamberlain sees the ships with the black flags coming, and he just gives that smirk.
Yes. There's a lot of smirking in this episode, I noticed.
There is a lot of smirking in this episode,
Uh-huh.
which goes very well with an episode whose thesis is about being underestimated.
Absolutely.
Yes, he smirks, and that was the moment where I knew that Jack's part of the plan was going to work, and that might be the moment where the tide turns, where you kind of start to have hope. Like I
sure.
remember feeling in the beginning of this episode, like, how on earth are they going to do this?
We're going to be flattened, sure.
Right, and this is the first moment of hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. It's great.
I know, I love it too. I love it. I love it that it came from Jack, of course, because always rooting for Jack.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have the beautiful scene between Silver and Maddie when she comes up the stairs to the lookout where he is waiting for her. And I love that he asks her questions that show us that he knew exactly the conversation she was about to have with her mother. This is obviously something that the two of them talked about ahead of time. Like, what a beautiful way to show us the level of partnership and intimacy that these two have. Mm-hmm. So subtle, so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he asks, did she fight it, her mother? And she said that she wanted to. And then Silver says, but why didn't she fight it? Mm-hmm. Which I love that question. And then Maddie says, she's protected us. But now putting ourselves in danger is a necessity. And it violates who she is. She knows she must make room for someone better suited to what must be done if they win this battle.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I love that the basic understanding between these two women, I mean, we saw their interaction, but now we get a little bit more insight into it.
Right.
The basic understanding between these two women is that one will need to step down for the other for the sake of the greater good, for the sake of the service.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's not about ego. It's not about power for the sake of power.
No. It's about who best fills the role and can do what needs to be done. And can serve the people.
Exactly.
That's good.
What a model. I mean, seriously, have we seen anything like this in Black Sails?
No, certainly not.
Right. The closest, again, I said this last episode, maybe the episode before, maybe both. The closest thing we have to this is imagining what sort of leader Thomas could have been.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like after so many episodes of us watching power struggles, to see people who actually envision power as something that the sole purpose of power is to serve is so beautiful and so refreshing and so revolutionary, because we've been immersed in this culture and we've embraced it and we love it.
Yeah.
But it's like, when you're so immersed in that culture and rooting for people who want power, again, Flint believes that he wants power for the sake of service.
Right.
But when you see someone who actually is doing that, you understand how far away from that he actually is.
Poor dear. Yes.
I know, not his intention. He's just not there. And then Silver says that it's hard to look your successor in the eye, knowing that their time is nearing as yours is almost through.
Yep.
This is where the parallel in my eyes is so strong.
Looking across the fire at Flint. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's what the note I wrote is, who is he talking about right then?
Well, and you could be talking about both. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I think he's very aware of the parallel.
Absolutely, he is. He's very aware of the parallel, and, I'm going to argue a little bit later that I think part of why he's so aware of it is because of his contact with Maddie and the Queen and this new...
Yeah, sure.
So let's talk about that at the end.
Okay.
And then I love that he says to her, as far as successors go, she could do worse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love them together.
They are really great together. Yeah.
They're really great. And then and then he hands her that gun. And he's just like,
damn.
I know.
Yep, it's good.
I know. Just like, we are in this together, lady.
And their hands touch unnecessarily around the barrel. Yep, I like them.
There's nothing like gun handing, bit of romance.
I'm just saying, you could do worse, ladies.
So wait, so maybe it's not the coat and the competency that you love about Silver. Maybe it's that he loves Maddie. Maybe that's what's inspiring you suddenly to like him so much, is that he sees...
I think you're absolutely right. I think that's exactly it, actually. Oh, wow. Yep.
That a man that could appreciate Maddie is a man worth calling hot.
I think you're absolutely right. Yep, that's how he got my affections. Yep, I think you're correct. Nailed
All right.
it. Mm-hmm.
We can chat with Luke about that.
We can. Yeah, that'll be fun. Oh, my.
Okay, so now we're at the forest, very briefly, and the one line is that struck me is, so Dobs is explaining, what their layout and how many people they have, and still very much looking like someone who's trying to betray the walrus crew. Mm-hmm. And then he says, the one who knows where the cache is cannot run away.
Yeah.
I love that he said that, like, he and Hornigold both will understand exactly what that means. Yeah. I love it. I mean, I just love that detail that he adds to it, that he's very specifically making us see. I mean, I think that was more for our sakes than for Hornigold to have it be about Silver.
Jeez. Yeah.
But that's just a great little thing there that he would see, that, that it's not unrealistic that he would say that, but it definitely makes us still worry.
Yeah.
That Silver's plan isn't working.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so then we have Jack and Anne again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we do have, for a split second, we have somebody talking to Chamberlain saying, wait, did they actually plan, what did they say? To exchange broadsides with us. I like that term.
Sounds dirty.
Okay.
Sorry, leave it to me.
Yeah, hashtag adult feelings, darling. I don't know what else to say about that. Liz and a small sector of the populace would see that as like some sort of pillow talk.
Hard to starboard.
Oh my goodness. I adore you.
Thank you.
So adorable. Okay.
Indeed.
And to
I'm
Jack
sorry.
and Anne.
Yep.
So Anne is concerned and says, wait a minute. Not so long ago, you said that there was no way you would trust Teach. And I love what Jack says then. He says, well, Charles was kind of a brother to us. And Charles was kind of a son to him.
Right.
I don't know what that makes us, but it's something.
It's something. And he's completely right. Sentiment will go a long way. And we know that. We know that about Teach, too. We know how sentimental he is about all of his ex-wives.
We do know
Yeah.
how sentimental Teach is. Well, and I also love that he says that right before the exchange that everyone adores. The exchange that launched a million gifts is...
Yes.
Is when Anne says, I'll see you on the other side.
Always. So good.
It's so good. Okay, so that exchange, I really honestly, I watched this episode 3 times today.
Yeah?
I cannot tell you how many times I've watched this episode. It's a shocking amount. Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
That exchange, I get a little teary every single time.
Oh, that's darling.
Every single time. But what I love is that it was right after a discussion of found family.
Oh. We know a thing or two
Right?
about found families here at Common Room Radio.
I love that. I mean, we've talked for many, 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 many episodes now about how much we adore the specialness of Jack and Anne's relationship and how hard it is to define. Let's put it that way.
Certainly.
But I love this exchange between them right after talking about quasi-familial relationships amongst pirates. That's just so perfect in so many ways. And the look that she gives him after he says always, like the 2 lines are amazing, but what really kills me is the look she gives him. When he says always, she looks at him and she's like, that's what I always needed from you. Like that sentiment.
Yes. It's really lovely. Yeah.
It's
those two are
so
great.
good.
Yep.
It's so good. It's so good. And then that whole thing where she goes downstairs and they pop themselves out through the gun ports into the water.
I know. And she's like this crazy land mermaid. She's amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
She's amazing. And she just, her attitude changes. It's like she has this unbelievably vulnerable moment when she's looking at Jack, and then she's just all business.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she is awesome. running that show. And she is running that show in a world that just a season ago wanted Jack but not Anne on a crew. Mm-hmm. And I love that.
Yep.
Like, that's it. Anne has arrived. She went through her pain and her scowling and her metamorphosis and all of her shit. And now Anne is leading the vanguard as she should be. Mm-hmm. And that makes me so happy.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I know. Okay, so then next we see the village being completely pummeled with mortars.
Which is hard to watch.
Isn't it? It's so hard to watch. And then we see Hornigold on a horseback with Rawlings, like totally just doing, like, it just pisses me off to see Hornigold in this military stance with the two horses. It's just like, this is just something we've seen in so many movies where the two leaders of the soldiers are like meeting on horseback and discussing, and it just makes me mad to see him doing that.
Oh, I know. Yep.
Don't you? Don't you just hate him?
I do hate him.
Yeah. You know what? He dies this episode.
He does. And it just feels good, right? It just feels good.
It feels really,
when
really
Dufresne
good.
Got his face kicked in. I shouldn't be enjoying this. It's gross. There's blood splattering everywhere. But also,
I know. Look what this show has done to us.
Oh, dear.
So Hornigold's so optimistic. He's like, oh, well, everything's going well. We will have the cash by nightfall.
Right.
And then he looks over at Dobs. Mm-hmm. And Dobs is giving that face.
I love it. I
love it too. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That is the moment when you know that Silver's right. Everything is falling into place. And I love that emotion because part of me is like, oh my God, amazing. Silver pulled it off. Everything's going to be okay. And part of me is like, holy shit, that threat that Silver just made to Flint is for real.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And this is when we then shift to Silver and Flint again. And Silver explains, I once thought that liked is as good as feared. And that may be true. But liked and feared is an entirely different state of being. One in which I believe I exist alone.
I know, it's so good. Yep, it's so good.
Scary.
Yeah,
it's so scary. And I just want to think. I just want to call back for a second to like us at the end of season 2.
Yeah,
who felt so much for Silver for giving up his leg from Community, for having watched him become part of Community.
Yeah,
and having so much compassion for him for the sacrifices he made. And that's all still there. Mm-hmm. And yet, for us also, we used to just like him. And now we fear him.
Yep, it's very true. And it makes me wonder then, if in the beginning, when he said to Flint, aren't you having second thoughts? And you assume that he has all this concern for the crew. And now I wonder if he's losing some of that concern now that he has all of this power.
That is an interesting question. I can tell you my belief, and maybe at the end I'll tell you why my belief, but I don't think so.
You don't? I mean, he sent Dobs to his death.
He did, but that's part of being a leader.
That is
Maddie
true.
Also, Maddie is also sending people to their death.
Yeah, is true.
That whole thing
That's
that
fair.
She's leading them through it.
But I don't know, the way he says that, the men need to know they're in good favor with me. They need it. He says it like it's a drug for him.
And maybe there is an element of that, and we'll have to see that in season 4.
Yes.
I believe that he's speaking from the experience of watching Maddie. Her people need her approval.
Oh, interesting. Okay, sure.
He has now had a window into another style of leadership. I think you could easily say that Maddie is also, just in a different realm, with a different group of people, Maddie is loved and feared.
Yeah. I just feel like Silver has to go full on dark side for Treasure Island. I could be
We'll
wrong.
see. Again,
We'll see.
Consequences.
Yep.
There are always consequences. Yep. And as Maddie said, she has been trained her whole life to fill this role.
Yeah.
And Silver has not been.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she's been training him deliberately, and I think also just through example.
Mm-hmm.
But there is still a difference between them.
Yeah.
But I think what he's talking about is more like him reaching at this stage. Like, we'll see what happens in season 4. I think we both agree. Like, we have no idea what they're going to do to us.
Right.
In the 10 episodes of season 4.
No idea. Mm-mm.
Like, just like there was no way at the end of season 2 to anticipate where we are right now. Like,
absolutely.
No
yeah.
way
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever.
Absolutely.
So we have no idea what's going to happen to Silver, what Silver will do, what will be done to him. We know nothing.
Right.
At this point, I feel like Silver is both deliberately emulating and also somewhat inhabiting the place that's similar to what Maddie is. Because I do think that he still cares for his crew.
Okay.
I think that he's trying to serve them.
Sure. Okay. All right.
But I like thematically for this show and, you know, and what happens with people in this show.
Right.
And there always being consequences. I like the idea that possibly there's a tiny bit of it that's a bit drug-like for him.
Yeah.
That,
and the darkness is reaching up to claim him. Mm-hmm.
that the darkness feels good to him.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I like that as an idea. I do think at this moment the darkness has not consumed him.
No, I agree. It's not consumed. Nope.
I think that in this moment, he's actually, again, what he's doing to Flint in this one conversation is not really very, I don't want to say it's not honorable, but I do think that it's deliberate and not vicious either, but deliberate. I guess
Right.
deliberate is as far as I'll
Deliberate is
go
good.
with it.
Okay.
Right. But I do think that for the most part, Silver is in a place that's very similar to Maddie right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's what he's striving for. And I think that he surprised himself by finding that he actually is in this place. I mean, that's how he talks about it. I believe him. I take him at his word that he's like, whoa, wait a minute. I went for liked. I got liked and feared.
Uh-huh.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all. Yep.
So he says, I guess I put this into the last conversation, but it's actually here. He said, the men need to know they're in good favor with me.
Right.
And that's why he's certain about Dobs.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that we hear him say he's certain after we are already certain.
Yes. Yeah.
But that we
and
got
this was
to
days
spend,
before. Uh-huh.
Right. This is days before, so that's kind of mind-blowing because it's so counterintuitive to choose the man that he just had beaten.
Yes.
So, yeah, and the other thing is that I wanted to say was that, like, again, I do believe that Silver's whole conversation was thought out ahead of time. I do think he's doing pirate theater to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
So my question at this point is, I feel like, he's this idea, the words he chose, that a different state of being from Flint's. And remember, not so long ago, he would speak of Flint in, somewhat deity-like terminology. Mm-hmm. So is he now kind of making himself a mythological creature?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. It's so, and it's so interesting because he doesn't know what Billy is doing in Nassau, right? He does not.
He has no idea.
Know. And he's doing it on his own over here. It's going to be very, very powerful.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I cannot wait to see how Silver reacts to what Billy's been doing.
I think that's going to be the big that's the drug high.
Yeah. I
think you have reason to worry.
that's okay. We're saving that. Okay, let's save that for the wrap.
Okay,
I'm going to bring that up. I want all three of us to predict how we think that Silver is going to react. That'll be one of our predictions. So when Hornigold sees Dobs, that's when he says to everyone, pull back. Like, he understands immediately. And I love it. Like, so I have no idea. Like, do you think that Dobs giving him that face was just like, that's it, Dobs couldn't resist anymore? Or was that part of the plan?
No, I think that
panic.
Dobs couldn't resist.
He just couldn't resist.
And it was already too late. He had led them to the place. It was over.
He got them to the place where it was too late, and then he just was like had to give a smirk again, another smirk.
Another smirk. Just
So
basically
subtle.
flipped him off. Yep.
Right. So subtle, but
Yep.
enough that Hornigold would of course understand it because he also understands all of these subtleties.
Yep. But it's just too much.
And then,
Yep.
oh my God, that guerrilla attack where they're all underground.
The ambush is amazing. It's gorgeous.
Amazing.
It's so exciting. And then also the battle on the sea is gorgeous with the ships and the smoke and
Yep.
it's the whole episode is fantastic, but this climax is fantastic.
I know. And Anne, oh my God.
Anne, oh my God, indeed. Yeah. No, Anne is fantastic. It's so satisfying. It's such a satisfying finale.
I think this might be the first time we've seen, I mean, other than when she was wearing a dress, this is
Right.
the first time we've seen Anne without hat or coat.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And she's just seems like her best self, right? She's
Right.
amazing. Mm-hmm.
She's amazing. And then she signals to the other ship. And then, I mean, what a brilliant plan, first of all, to like
Right.
board a ship and then use that one ship against the other ships.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Jack said the plan kind of vaguely in the beginning, but when
Right.
you see the plan, you're like, oh, it's a good plan.
No, it's good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, yeah. And then, right. And then when they do manage with the one ship to shoot the other ship through, the look that Jack gives Teach.
It's pretty
Oh,
fantastic.
I love that
No,
look.
it's pretty
I
fantastic.
I
Well,
love
I'd
that
love
look.
to see how much the commander of the Navy, I don't remember his name,
Chamberlain.
just how humiliated he is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and in first he's in denial because at first he's
Oh,
like
yeah,
keep firing,
sure.
and the guy's like,
How?
"How do we do that?"
Yep. It's fantastic. It's
I
very
know.
satisfying.
Oh, it's so great. But yeah, Jack's look just gives me endless amounts of
Yep.
joy.
Underestimated indeed.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, I think it's two things. I think he's really psyched for himself, and I think part of it's just like, damn, look at my woman, and she is amazing.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
He is super proud of Anne.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep, I do too. Okay, so then we get back to the forest. They're still fighting. Flint is terrifying,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, and then when he sees Hornigold and he's like quickly priming his rifle, and Hornigold's coming at him on the horse,
Yes.
I was scared.
Yeah.
I was a little bit scared right then. And then he shoots Hornigold, and just thank God.
Yeah. Nope. It was, again, very satisfying. It's a very satisfying finale.
I know. It's amazing. And then he yells, "Tell your governor."
You tell him I'm coming.
coming.
God, it's so cool.
I
Yeah. Amazing. So excited for season 4.
Okay, so next we have our last campfire scene.
Yes.
And that's when Flint admits, let's say there's some merit to what you're saying and that Dobs does what you say. I would have to admit the world has shifted beneath our feet. Now, he still has a snide look on his
He
face.
does.
He doesn't
he doesn't
actually
think he's
believe
right.
it.
Uh-huh.
He does not believe that this is going to happen, which is funny because, like, I don't know, if I was Flint right then, I don't know if snide was, I'd be like, holy shit, you have fucked us more than I would be being snide. So perhaps snide is at this point is an act.
Oh, I think that's likely, actually. Yep.
Right. Because
Yeah.
we know who Flint
I'm
is.
not going to let you spook me. Uh-huh.
Exactly. Or I'm not going to let you see that you've spooked me.
Exactly.
And so he says, I didn't write the list down. I wrote the note. I've survived a lot of shit. He lists a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Starvation, whatever, pirate hunters, other pirates, king, a queen, a lot of shit.
Yes. Yes.
And he says, to whatever extent you may be concerned that we will clash and you will be forced to be my end, I wouldn't worry too much. And then he gives the most terrifying smile. This is the most terrifying.
Best. Toby
my
Stevens
God.
is so good.
Oh my God. I mean, think about that smile, which is possibly the most terrifying smile I've ever seen. And Dimples McGraw.
Oh, break break my heart.
No, but I'm just saying.
But yeah,
just
so
contrast those two
great
styles
contrast.
of smiling.
Yes. Toby Stephens. Yeah.
And Silver smiles back at him. And they are both scaring the shit out of me. And I was just like, I remember going, no, don't do this to me. Don't make me choose. Don't make me feel like one of these people is going to hurt the other. And I know that they will. And I don't want that to ever happen.
Yeah.
Oh, this show. Show, why do I love you so much, show? But I love you so much, show. And then at the very end, you see Flint after he just won this amazing battle. And he looks over the water and he sees Silver. And then he sees Maddie walking behind Silver.
Yeah.
And Flint is alone. And Silver is with Maddie. And they don't actually nod. But I would like to bring up the season finale of each season right now.
Oh, there's always a nod.
There is generally a nod, and each. Okay, it's not a nod, but I still feel like this is
in that same vein. Yeah, it's an acknowledgement.
This is exactly. So at the end of season 1, the nod is between Flint and Gates. Which is a nod of like, I am pretending to still be your partner, but I'm about to kill you.
Yes.
Which is what each of them felt.
Yes.
Well, I guess Gates felt it at the time, but Flint ended up doing the killing. At the end of season 2, we have a nod between Flint and Vane. And this is the nod of, we were always adversaries, but now we're working together. And this is hope. Like the first season, it was... everything falls apart all the time, and now the worst thing you ever that you couldn't even imagine is about to happen. The second one is so hopeful, and this one is just downright terrifying for me.
Wow. Yep.
But each one signifies how the game has changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now we just have, as our last bit, we have the back and forth between our conspiracy group and Max reading the letter.
Max reads the letter, which of course is very well composed. Well done, Billy.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
right. So we still see Silver smiling in the campfire thing when we hear Jacob Garrett start talking about the way people have been talking about Silver. So I feel like that just reinforces the threat on his side, because aside from whatever threat he offers Flint from proving that Dobbs would do his bidding, we now have this added threat of the myth that they're creating of Silver over on Nassau.
Yes.
Okay, the thing, I know we've going really long, but the thing I'm about to bring up that we have to talk about is that I think it was Adele who asks, does it matter if it's true? And Billy says, it doesn't matter what's true. This is a turning point in my eyes for Billy. Again, I don't know what will be in season 4. We just had an last episode, that was all about truth and all about Vane being our truth teller and all about the connection at the end between Billy and Vane.
Right.
For me, this is the
because
moment
they killed Vane.
See, I don't think it's about that. I'm going to bring it back to crowns. I think it's because not only is Billy the kingmaker right now, Billy has now chosen to lead men. Billy is the one who's motivating the action on Nassau. He has chosen to wear his own crown right now, in addition to being a kingmaker.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Well, I like it. I was expecting your reaction to be much sadder about this. This is Billy crossing a line.
Well, he was always going to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We knew he had to cross this line because we know who he is in Treasure Island. For me, that's the moment. The moment that Billy is willing to step away. It's not just he was a storyteller already. He had embraced the storyteller. But the minute that he says that the truth doesn't matter is the moment that he crosses that line from being like Vane to being like Flint and Silver.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm taking this much harder than you are. I'm fascinated by that.
Well, again, I don't know what to say except that it had to happen. So
I know.
Yeah.
I just thought that your love of Billy was going to make this really hard realization.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I like his character arc very much. I love to see him growing and changing. Yeah.
I do too. This is where in my eyes he's switched camps from being a hero based on virtue to a hero based possibly on tragedy, which again, we know this. Maybe I've managed to be somewhat in denial about Billy and where his arc was going, even though I knew.
How sweet.
So then Max was reading, and I find the wording here also, it's very interesting because it's all about becoming. I love the wording here.
Yeah.
That he says, I was no one until my island fell, and then I became something else. Mm-hmm. And that's when we see then Featherstone say, why not Flint? And Billy said, I am so tired of Flint being the person that holds us together. I need an alternative. We need an alternative.
Yes. It was interesting that question came so late in the episode. Why not Flint?
Well, I think before that, when it was just the black spot, it wasn't clear that it was Silver. It was still a kind of anonymous threat.
Oh, I don't think so.
This is the
when
moment.
They were talking about the Giant John or John the Giant,
but that's all one. This is all the same conversation. That was just we're just getting snippets from that same conversation.
It was just earlier in the episode, sure.
Right?
Okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
It was early in the episode, but same sitting around the table.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
So I love this. Again, he says, the night I confiscated the pardon rolls was the night I started becoming. I just love this. I just love
great.
this. I just feel like this
of a legend. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, exactly. And that's when Gunn brings up, does Silver even know? Does Mr. Silver know what you're doing? And Billy is so confident that Silver is going to like this.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Right? Because he's so convinced that that's when he says that we need a new story for Nassau. I've seen it ruled by madmen, by rich men, by tyrants. It's time she had a king.
So cool.
And again, as part of Billy's arc, remember how against the idea of a king he was in the first episode.
Yeah.
He went along with Flint. He was the kingmaker.
There are no kings here, though, he said.
Right.
That's so true.
Exactly.
Wow.
I know. Yeah.
Poor
Billy. I know. Poor Billy. Billy's just embracing all sorts of things that he should not be embracing right now or ever. Oh, because I want him to just be good, but that's not going to happen because I know who he becomes. So then he says, when we're ready, when he's ready, he will step into the role we created.
Yeah. He'll
lead an impossible army in an unwinnable war and win it.
Wow.
Oh, wow. And then we end with Max when she finishes reading that letter and she looks at the camera. And my question is, do we think that Max is afraid? Or do we think that Max read this letter with particular drama because she is hedging her bets?
Oh, the latter. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yes,
I'm so glad that you're clear on that.
Uh-huh.
I love that. I love that. I know people are probably confused by my love of Max, but I like that. Yeah. I like that I love that Max is a good person and savvy.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I love that combination.
Yeah, she's extraordinary. Well drawn. And I love that she closes out season 3.
Yep, absolutely. And actually, our friend Carla, brought up the fact that Max closes out season 2 as well. That at the end of season 2, we have the, would you like to see something shiny?
Oh, and it's her face, of course. Yes.
And it's her face. Again, season 2 ending with hope. Season 3 ending with kind of terrifying uncertainty.
Yes. Yeah. The sense of impending doom. Yes.
Right. Impending God knows what.
Impending
that's
chaos.
The thing.
Yes. Impending.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay. So I wanted in our last bit
Uh-huh.
to talk a little bit about themes.
Okay, sure.
Like in season 1.
Ready to guns! Full complement!
We did already talk. We gave away our thesis statement in the beginning.
Right,
We
of
possibly had been giving away the thesis statement
All
for the
season
past.
long. That's okay.
Right. Well, all season, like all show long,
All
like
show
since
long, from the beginning. Yes. Uh-huh.
from the beginning, we've been quoting that one line. Okay, so since we did our thesis statement, let's just talk about favorite things.
Okay, I think that's good.
What's your favorite thing?
Oh gosh, that's hard in this episode, but I have to
Right?
say it's the campfire conversation. Like as brilliant as this whole episode is, and as much as the visual effects, I mean, God, I hate to think about how much time and effort and money they spent on the visual effects for me to say that my favorite part was just Flint and Silver sitting around talking by the fire. But it absolutely was. And whenever I think about this episode, especially because it's been since the first time I watched through that I saw it, that's what I think of, is Flint and Silver talking across that fire.
Yeah. I think I've got to say the same. I mean, even though, the see you on the other side always gets me.
There's so much good stuff.
The Jack and Teach delights me, obviously, to no end. But that conversation really, just is the heart of the show.
Yes.
I mean, I just really feel like that conversation, it's always been about Flint and Silver. It will always probably be about Flint and Silver. This was the most intense Flint and Silver we've ever had, and everything getting reframed. And Silver. I mean, I've said for a while now that my favorite thing in season 3 or seasons 2 and 3, I don't know. I'm so confused now because Flint's always been my favorite thing until we started doing this podcast. And now possibly my favorite thing is Silver's arc.
Ooh.
Because I feel like it's true. Silver's arc is shocking and amazing. And I feel like in ways I didn't even realize before that like some sort of amazing mixture of all of those parts, and that Silver has now, I guess the only thing I wanted to say that I didn't get to say is that I feel like Silver is now using possibly every form of power we've seen. That he has the power of people loving him, obviously, feared and loved.
Right.
We've got that, the liked and feared thing. But also the shame element, that he has now even incorporated the power that civilization uses, possibly.
Sure, yeah.
And somehow found a way to incorporate that in the way that he motivates people. And that I do believe that at this stage it's inspired still by Maddie. So I think that there is still good. I can't guarantee that there will continue to be good in it, but I think at this point Silver has brought together all of the forces of how to influence other people and embodied them in himself. I'm talking about now. He's like a superhero.
Yeah.
He's a pirate superhero right now.
Superhero, sure.
And I am blown away by that more than I've ever been because of the process of us discussing his arc so much.
Yeah. Wow.
I honestly could just watch this episode a few more times, even though we've just talked about it already, because I just feel like there's just way more to glean from it than even what we've managed to.
Yeah.
So this has been great. This is amazing. I can't believe it. I mean, we started this a long time ago, although it doesn't feel like that long ago, but we've actually now talked about all of the episodes we've had up until now.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's all of it. Wow. I'm so glad that we get another season to pick through. It's going to be very exciting.
I am too. Oh, wait. Well, let me just take this minute. I know, again, we've gone forever, but I just want to describe to people what we're going to be doing in season 4.
Yes, please do.
Again, we're going to have a few treats. We've only announced 2 of them so far. So we will have John Steinberg. We will have Luke Arnold with us between seasons 3 and 4. We'll have a few more things. I guess we just announced Lauren. We are going to be doing our wrap with Lauren, because it would just be wrong to do a season wrap without Lauren. And in season 4, we will be dropping our episodes basically Sunday night, like we always do, like early Monday morning, right after the actual episode has aired.
Yes.
And before we do that, we will actually be doing a live tweet every week of the episode at 9:00 Eastern, right? It airs for you at the same time. So I think so. Okay, we'll give you details.
Yes.
But I think it's 9:00 Eastern, which would be 8:00 Wait, what are you?
Yeah, 8 Central. That's right. Yeah, 9 Eastern, 8
So
Central.
bad.
That's right.
So that is what we'll be doing every week, is that we'll be live tweeting when it airs on Sunday nights and then dropping the episodes so that you all have it early Monday morning.
Oh, it's going to be so exciting.
It's going to be really cool.
I love doing the live tweets.
So that's it. And, happy between season 3 and season 4, everyone. We'll be back next week with one of your treats.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Okay, until then, from Common Room Radio, I'm Liz Stevens.
And I'm Daphne Olive.
Fathoms Deep is a Common Room Radio production. For more information and access to other programs, please visit us at commonroomradio.com. To show your support, pledges of as little as $1 a month can be made to patreon.com/commonroomradio. Join the conversation by using the hashtag #Fathoms Deep and follow us on Twitter at BlackSalesCast. We ask that you keep your tweets respectful and positive, and please avoid spoilers. If you have more to say, we want to hear it in all its spoiler glory. Email us at podcast@commonroomradio.com with Fathoms Deep in the subject line. Thanks for listening.